Are you a barbarian? The question might seem ridiculous since you are likely streaming this video on a phone or a laptop. Life today can seem like something out of a science fiction movie, so it's hard to entertain the thought that we might have entered a dark age and that you might be a barbarian in it. To answer whether this is so, we need to think about what a dark age actually is. A dark age is a period of time in which a civilization has lost much, if not most, of its previous knowledge, wisdom, culture, and art. We have actually been through at least 3 of them in known Western history. As we pulled ourselves out of the last dark age and into the Renaissance, what most alarmed thinkers was not the loss of technology, like Roman concrete, or the conventions of civilized life, like the Justinian Code. Rather, it was the loss of culture, philosophy, history, and literature that gave value and meaning to their lives. All this wisdom was contained in books now lost. Much had been lost forever, but some of it still survived, hidden in arcane and distant libraries or in private collections. To recover this wisdom before it vanished entirely, these thinkers embarked on a frenzied search, scouring Europe and the Middle East. These were what I call first-wave humanists, and the spirit of intellectual rebirth in which they worked became known as humanism. As Socrates said, to know what you don't know is the beginning of wisdom. These Renaissance scholars were now beginning to know how much they hadn't known before. Combining the newly discovered cultural riches that they had actually saved with what they still had, they called this literary collection the Great Books. The main talking points of these great books had followed and built on over 1,000 years they called the Great Conversation. These were points about fate, justice, heroism, freedom, the afterlife, and so on. These were the books which countless centuries of thinkers agreed that an educated man or woman had to have read in order to be considered educated, civilized, and cultured. These were the books which explained how, and, more importantly, why we hold the values that we do today. You didn't have to agree with those values, but even to articulately disagree, you needed to know how Western culture had come to these values in the first place. Now, let's skip ahead to our time. Those great books are still on our bookshelves today. The Iliad, the Aeneid, the Inferno, Paradise Lost. They are not lost, but they are forgotten, covered in dust. Moreover, we have also forgotten how to read them. The years of rigorous training in logic, rhetoric, history, and analysis which made the readers of previous centuries so complex, deep-thinking, and eloquent are no longer taught. Even if some enterprising soul should pull one of these texts off of the bookshelf, would he know how to read it properly? Would he know which text to read? Would he know the sequence in which to read them? He may well end up with a random collection of cultural fragments which don't fit into a coherent whole. In other words, he would not be able to follow the conversation. That ignorant reader was once me. I did not know that I didn't know. But now, as I survey the cultural world around me, it comes clear that almost no educated people, even professors, know or understand the great books, nor the great conversation therein. They didn't even know that it had ever existed. Through little or no fault of their own, they are ignorant about what it meant, in the Western tradition, to be human and why we see the world as we do today. To ancient and Renaissance thinkers, this was the very definition of a barbarian. Yet when such readers catch snippets of the great conversation here and there, it arouses in many a powerful curiosity and a hunger for something they can't quite name. It's like they catch occasional whiffs of delicious smells, as it were, but the feast is nowhere to be found. Fortunately, there are a growing number of resources out there to help modern thinkers recover this lost world of the great books. However, we still have not answered what T.S. Eliot might have called the overwhelming question. Are you, with your social media, cell phones, pop culture, and safe, comfortable life, a barbarian? And if so, do you actually want to do anything about it? I'm Dr. Bill Friesen, professor of English and host of Paideia Today. Thank you for listening.